time for the Dog and Pauly podcast on FingerLakes1.com, featuring Harold Webb Dog Weber and Paul Hellstrom.
They say in Las Vegas, 7 come 11. It is July 11th, a Wednesday. It is a picture-perfect day in the Finger Lakes region. You're getting ready to check out another Dog and
Pauly show
here on FingerLakes1.com on a absolutely 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. Beautiful day. A lot going on in the world of sports. My buddy Paul is back from vacation with his family. We'll talk about his trials and tribulations on the road and checking out local restaurants, and he'll give us a rundown on his trip out of the town since he wasn't here with us last week. But we got some golf information, golf news to discuss. First off, we're going to be hooking up with Bill Moore, the executive director of the New York State Golf Association. Why is that important? Because the New York State Women's AM, along with the mid-amateur, are being contested. This is round 2 down at the Seneca Falls Country Club. And I was down there. I left there to come here. The girls are teeing off, both on number 1 and 10. But we thought we'd get Bill on the phone and get an update from, he's the executive director, the lead man, to find out what's going on. But Pauly, as far as, I know you don't play golf, but if you're a golfer, today would be a perfect day to play golf, especially in a nice competition. And it's a feather in our cap in Seneca Falls to have the women come to Seneca Falls, an event that they have staged, and they really went after about 3 or 4 years ago to finally get the bid.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations and welcome to all the women golfers that are coming here. If anybody's coming here for the first time, they're going to be into a great setting at the picturesque country club, Seneca Falls Country Club, and they're doing a great job. And, boy, we got weather for them. They ought to be hitting the ball long in this weather. So.
Well, I watched them tee off, some of the ladies, and these ladies, a couple of them are in the field today, in the field this week, Paul, that are 14, 2 14-year-olders. So, we got a lot going on. There's a tremendous amount of anticipation as the tournament rolls on, and certainly, by all merits, the ideal scenario working with Bill and his committee. They have done a spectacular job, and it's just a delight to be down there to check out the action here on a Wednesday. And, of course, the competition is for 54 holes. It started yesterday. They had practice rounds on Monday. Round 1 was yesterday, which was Tuesday, obviously. Today, of course, round 2. And after today, they will do a cut, and then they'll have round 3, the final round, tomorrow. FingerLakes1.com, of course, we'll talk about that during the course of this show, the Dog and Pauly. We are going to be heavily engaged into that area. But without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to welcome in a buddy of mine who I met the other day as him and his team were down there setting up the Seneca Falls Country Club, and that's Bill Moore, the executive director of the New York State Golf Association. Bill, good morning. Welcome to our show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, Bill, it's nice having you on. Give us your impressions so far. You came in, you set up the golf course. What's your impressions after a couple of days here in Seneca Falls?
Yeah, it's great. We're really enjoying it. I think obviously you guys were in charge of the weather and did a great job with that, and we're very pleased with the golf course and the setup so far. I think the women are really enjoying the facility and the golf and the weather, and we're just plugging away on day 2.
Well, I was down there, as you saw me a little while ago before I came to the studios. A lot of excitement down there. These ladies can play. I know you got a couple of 14-year-olds in the field. Talk about a little about the tradition of the tournament. This is what, the 83rd edition, correct?
83rd edition, and we added a mid-amateur division a few years ago when we went to stroke play. But yeah, the 83rd, I mean, it's got a great history, and all the, especially the women's tournaments, but it sits for the men's as well. You know, really when you got into the 50s and 60s of these events, there just became more good players, and if you look at our winner list the last 40 years, there's been a tremendous amount of talent that's been here, played in the event, and moved on to the pro ranks or tried to move on to the pro ranks. So we've been lucky to see a lot of good talent come through in our time here.
Well, I was down there, as you know, for about 40 minutes, had a cup of coffee, and talked to you a little bit, and talked to the pro, Bob Fuller, and the general manager, along with Kevin Muirhead and company. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how long you've been involved in putting these things on, and how many people comprise of your committee that make these things work?
Well, it's definitely a team effort. I came at it. I was the intern for the New York State Golf Association for 2 years out of college in 97 and 98. Learned a little bit about golf administration, learned how to set up golf courses, I was a player before that. Still play a lot of tournaments locally and regionally, and so I'm always taking ideas from them. But setting up a golf tournament, especially for not your gender or not your age, is a bit of a challenge. You never quite know how to set them up, how they play the game. So that takes a little bit of time to acquire. But this is my 9th year as executive director, so this is my 9th women's amateur I've been in charge of, and I think we get better every year and do more things to bring the players in and make it a great week for them. So.
We should point out, too, and then we'll let you go on a couple more questions. The women's amateur, you can be of any age, correct? You could be 11, 12, regardless.
Yeah, that's correct. You can be 10 years old, you can be 80 years old. There's no age restrictions there. For the mid-amateur division, you need to be 25 years of age or older to play in that. But they play the same tees as everybody else. You can win both tournaments at the same time if you are good enough to do so. But we just wanted to try to get some of the older players to come back and play in our event because a lot of them don't think they can beat the college kids because they just get so much better every year.
Maybe you can have a tournament for the dog. I'm 67. How about 67 to 70? Maybe I have a chance of winning.
We have a men's super senior, dog.
Oh, baby.
And older.
Oh, baby. All right. Well,
Wheelhouse.
Oh, baby, with my golf game, I could shoot 84 or 106. That'd be perfect in that. Let's talk about the leaderboard after round one. Give us a rundown of the leaderboard. I understand Miss Haynes is leading with a 73.
Yeah, Michelle Haynes, a really nice kid from the Buffalo area Cragburn Golf Club, which I don't know if any of your listeners or you guys have been out to. It's a fantastic golf course out south of Buffalo. One of those places that's all golf. There's no pool, there's no tennis, it's
wow.
just a golf facility. It's fantastic. And Michelle's a really nice kid. Just met her yesterday, but I've known her brother, who's been a good player for a long time in the Buffalo area. She had 73. Obviously, there's a 2-shot lead over a newcomer for us, Ellen Oswald. She had 75. She's from down in Westchester at Westchester Country Club, which everybody knows.
Beautiful course.
The Buick Classic for years. And does a great job. So I actually just met her this morning. Fantastic kid. And we're looking forward to seeing her play some more golf today.
The defending champion, Victoria de Groot, that's the way you pronounce her name?
Yeah, Victoria de Groot, that's correct.
She opened up the defender title with a decent round as well.
Yeah, 76. She had a good front side. I think she was one over on the front, and the back stepped up and got her. I think the back is a little tougher to score on out here at Seneca. That's just my opinion.
Right.
Yesterday, the scores were about a shot and a half higher on the back than they were the front. And I think that's where Michelle Haynes really got off to a great start. She started on the back and played it in even par.
Wow.
And then sort of cruised around on the front side. So if she can do the same thing today, I think she'll stay right up near the lead. But I think it's the first time she's been in contention in this. A little more pressure today. We'll see how she handles it. And
Theresa Cleveland, the defending champion of the Mid-Am, is also in the hunt as well.
She's in the hunt. She had 80 yesterday. She told me she stinks. Theresa and I go way back. We were members of the same club in Syracuse at Bellevue, and I've known her for 20 years. There's not a more tireless worker on her game than Theresa. She's there every day, puts the headphones on, and just chips and putts and hits balls.
That's awesome.
She's a great athlete. But she's 3 behind her best friend out here, Karina Watkins, who's our senior women's champion this past year. Karina's a really solid player and had 77 yesterday, and she's going to be pretty tough to beat in the mid-am if she keeps hitting the ball straight and making a few putts.
Well, of course, talking to Bill Moore, the executive director of the New York State Golf Association, as the junior women's am along with the mid-am is underway as we speak at the Seneca Falls Country Club. I had a chance to go down there this morning, saw Bill and a lot of his team members. Give our viewers and our listeners an overview. After today, there will be a cut, top 40, including ties, and anyone within 10 shots of lead. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. So there'll be... the cut's usually pretty high. The 10-shot rule normally doesn't come into effect. I don't expect it to today either. But the 40 players will definitely be a lot of players hanging around the 18th green looking at the cut line. So it's always a fun day to come out and support the women. And then, obviously, we're looking forward to having you guys out tomorrow for the webcast.
We're going to be doing
yeah. I think the girls are really going to enjoy it.
Well, we're going to do about 6 hours starting around 10 o'clock. Jim will be down there probably 4 in the morning because he's a tireless worker after we do a baseball game tonight.
But up all the equipment.
Believe me, he'll bring tons of stuff with him. It's going to be a lot of fun. We will be broadcasting. We look forward to it. By the way, they all start off number 1 tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Is that correct, off the first tee?
So that's correct, yeah. Leaders, depending on how many players make the cut with ties, the leaders will probably go off around 10:15. And we'd love to have some of the local folks come out and watch. You have to walk.
Yep.
But Seneca Falls, obviously, the weather's so nice. It's an easy course to walk. Come on out. If you have, if you're a grandfather, or
right.
if you're not working, you have a daughter that's interested in the game or a son, bring them out, watch these kids play, watch the women play.
Exactly.
I think you'd be amazed at how good some of these players are.
And they do. They play great. Well, Bill, we'll let you go. We know you got a lot of things. You're trying to do a lot of things with a couple of hands there working, and I'm sure you and your team will pull it off. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow and talking to you on during our 5 or 6 hour webcast, which will kick off around 10 o'clock. So we look forward to you, and thank you for some time as the 2012 Women's Am along with the Mid-Am is underway at nearby Seneca Falls Country Club. And as Bill pointed out, we urge our viewers to check out. It's a beautiful day. Get a beverage. Walk around. You won't be able to take a cart on the course. Walk around and watch some exciting golf, and these kids can play.
It's going to be great. It's going to be a great week.
All right, Bill, thanks a lot. We'll catch you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, guys.
All right, Bill Moore, ladies and gentlemen. The executive director of the New York State Golf Association, him and his team have done a marvelous job setting up the golf course. It gives you the feeling of a USGA. I mean, they got the 10 on the first tee. They got people being announced off the first tee. It's really neat the way they do this thing. They've got referees nearby. Of any of the threesomes are going off today as threesomes off number 1 and 10. It's really a spectacular event, and I urge anybody checking us out this morning, hey, go down there today. Round 2 is underway. Round 3 will be tomorrow. Really, seriously, you got nothing else to do but come on down and support these gals. They're from all over the state of New York, and it's really quite a thing. And I certainly, I know, Paul, you echo my sentiments in saying that this is a signature event at Seneca Falls, and I find it historical, complex or relationship, Paul, being the home of women's rights. It's only fitting that the ladies come to Seneca Falls.
Perfect scenario.
Perfect scenario. So we talked to Bill Moore, and then we're going to be talking to Scotty Bissell, who, by the way, is a good friend of mine up in Geneva, and the subject will be golf for a couple more minutes as we talk about the Geneva City Golf Championship, which gets underway shortly. Not today, but it'll be getting underway soon in the month of July, and we wanted to give that a little shot as well here on the Dog and Pauly. Well, Pauly, before we take our commercial break, talk about some of the great sponsors that make this show possible. Give us an overview on your trip. Where'd you go? Who were you with, and what took place?
Just a family vacation. We met my son and daughter-in-law, and we met them in the middle of Pennsylvania by Knoebels Park. It's centered in the middle of Pennsylvania. We had a nice 2 days of camping, and amusement park was close by, and we drove over there every day.
Now, you camped in a tent?
No, it's a little pop-up camper, just one step up from a tent.
I don't picture you getting in a tent. I just don't picture that.
Well, it would be Helen. Helen's idea of camping is go to the grounds, light the campfire. When you put the campfire out, go to the Holiday Inn.
Oh, baby.
But we had air conditioning in this little pop-up thing. It was great. The weather was cooperative. No matter when you took your vacation this year, you made out because we haven't had much rain. And I know there's just a point in time when we're going to need the rain for everybody. For the crops and for the golf courses and everything.
Oh, it's dry.
Our vacation was perfect. And then I pushed home because the Deluxe opened last night.
Right.
And my wife went to Virginia with the kids after that, and I'm picking her up in Sealing Grove, Pennsylvania this Saturday.
Good.
But all went well, and we had to get back. It takes a couple days when you're closed for 9 or 10 days like the Deluxe was. It took a couple days, and Evo, Pokai, and myself got it all set up Monday, and they opened last night, and there was 150 people there last night. And I just talked to Charlie on the phone. He said there's like 80, 90 reservations tonight already.
Perfect.
So far as wondering if you're doing the right thing by taking a vacation and closing your business.
Yep.
If the people receive you like that when you come back, you know you must be doing something good, and it's a good feeling.
But it's been tradition with the Deluxe for many years with Charlie. He likes to give his employees time off.
Yeah, he does that, and also Charlie's big on the holidays off, the Christmas and the New Year's days and the Thanksgivings and the Easters. That's very unique for a restaurant, but it's a family restaurant orientated, and you get that feeling, and you know what it's all about once you go in there. But everything is going great, and we opened up strong, and we just figure we'll go strong all week now. The
Deluxe Restaurant, one of our great sponsors, and Charlie, of course, is smiling from ear to ear along with his beautiful wife because Charlie is excited about the Mets. They are hanging tough after round 1, which, of course, the Major League Baseball season is actually 3 or 4 rounds if you use the analogy of boxing. They're only like 4.5, 5 out, maybe 6 out in the loss column. They're still in the hunt. They've been underachievers the last several years. They haven't spent any money to bring any players in. The question is, can they maintain that in the second half of the season? We'll have to wait and see. But I know Charlie is a big Mets fan, and normally you go up to see Charlie. He's got the shorts working, whether it's 25 below zero in snow or whether it's 95. He's got those shorts, and usually he's wearing a Mets T-shirt or a Mets jersey or something. So he loves his Mets, and you got to give him credit because he loves those New York Mets, and that's part of his shtick, which is good. We thank Charlie and his great team up there for sponsoring the Dog and Pauly. By the way, I was at Lizards last night, stopped over and saw Scotty. He was on the golf course playing, so I saw Mama and Papa and my buddy, the legendary. We got other friends in there that were there last night, so that was fun, too. Also, a Lizards Tailgater Lounge, a lot going on. Of course, Wednesday is trivia night. That, of course, tonight with DJ Paradise Entertainment. $5 Coors Light pitchers, 35-cent wings, and $2 well drinks. And, of course, those prizes. So that's Wednesday night trivia tonight at Lizards Tailgater Lounge, of course, on Church Street up in Waterloo. By the way, this coming Friday, July the 13th, first time in the area, Tone Deaf Band with former members of Motley Crue, including Eric and Danger Kitty. So that's going to come up Friday night, July 13. The Tone Deaf Band will be performing at Lizards Tailgater Lounge. On Saturday, July 14th, DJ karaoke videos with sporadic specials. And don't forget, folks, if you like clams, Friday night is clam night at Lizards. All you can eat every Friday night, 4 to 7 o'clock, till they're gone. $6.99, all you can eat clams. I'm kind of hoping that Mary goes somewhere with the girls on a Friday night because I want to go over and test how many clams I can eat. I love clams, and that is one heck of a deal. $6.99, all you can eat. My luck would be is I'd walk into Tailgaters, and Scotty would say he has but 7 clams to do for the dog. Marshall's Auto Sales on Routes 5 and 20 in Seneca Falls is a fine sponsor of the Dog and Pauly Show. Of course, our buddy Dick Marshall has been around for over 40 years, got about 6 or 8 vehicles in his lot. I urge you that if you have an interest in getting a car for your daughter who might be going to college, or your son, or your grandmother, your mom, or your dad, he has some great cars out there. They're very good shape. Dick Marshall will make sure it's in good shape, and he will make sure that when he leaves or when you leave his lot, if there's a problem, he'll make it work, and he'll take care of it. He's also got his great lead technician, my buddy Tommy Thompson, who's been doing this thing for like 40, seems like about 80 years. Tommy's been involved in helping out and fixing cars. But Tommy's been a long-time good service technician, and we wish him and Dick Marshall the best, and we thank them. And, of course, we should point out, Pauly, he's got to be a little bit happy. Tony Stewart winning last week at the Daytona race down there in Florida. I think it's called the Coke Zero race, so he's happy.
Yeah, I got to stop down, and he's going to have to educate me on what's happened. I've never been a big Tony Stewart fan, but he's been around a long time, and he's relatively consistent, and he's kind of fan-friendly. But I don't understand it. They penalized him after qualifying. He was number 2. They sent him to the back.
Right.
And then after the race was finished, and he came from the back and won the race, they repenalized him again for somebody nudged a vent pipe or something that was in the back seat of his car venting. And it seems like he's the guy that they want to go get, but he wins races. He's won 3 races this year, and Keselowski's won 3.
Yep.
And he just keeps coming, and he makes every once in a while he tries to do the bad guy image, like he after Dale Earnhardt won the race, and he said, well, I don't see what all the fuss is about. He's a professional race driver. He should win. But what I found out about Tony is that next week they're not racing.
Right.
And Tony is up at Brewerton racing a sprint car for the local people.
That's
he's
great.
Jumping the next night, he's jumping over to Fonda.
That's great.
When they come up to Watkins Glen, he goes to Black Rock. It's like a 3/8-mile track, and he gets out there on the dirt and slides and smashes into the walls. And boy, I think that's I can see why Dick probably likes him.
Yep.
I think he's a rooted driver, small like we had in Waterloo years ago when we had the fairground. So I got to go up there, and Dick's got to educate me on how that works. But I'm starting to root for him. I've become a Tony Stewart fan.
And we're going to go to the phone to get my good buddy Scott Bissell, who's on the line waiting patiently. Scott, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, Scott. Scott and myself go back too many years to discuss on the Dog and Pauly Show here on FingerLakes1.com. But Scott, I've known Scott for so many years, it's unbelievable. I understand your golf game's pretty good. You said you shot a 71, Scott. I remember you always were a good player, and obviously you've improved with age.
Well, I don't know if I've improved with age. Everybody gets a lucky round in once in a while.
I like that. The reason I got Scott Bissell calling in from Geneva this morning, talking us through on the Dog and Pauly, we plugged the New York State Women's Am along with the Mid-Am taking place at Seneca Falls Country Club, which is a signature event. But an event that really has history and tradition that I've been following for several years, I've never really got a chance to get up there and watch some of these players. I know a lot of them that are participating, and that's the Geneva City Golf Championship. Scotty, give us an overview. How many years that baby's been going on? I know that's one of the pearls, as they say in the area, for golf championships. You guys have been doing it a long time up there.
Well, it started in 1940 and ran from 40 and 41. Was won by John Carroll Sr., or as most people know him, Lonnie Carroll. During the war, 42 to 45, they postponed the tournament. It started again in 1946 and then ran through 1968 every year. The last winner in 1968 was William, more affectionately known as Beaver Brennan.
Oh, yeah.
And then it just kind of fell aside for, I guess, the next 20-something years. We started it back up in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
Beaver's brother, Jimmy Brennan, got together with quite a few of us and suggested the idea. And it was won in 1992 by Frank Otley. And then since that time, we've been going fairly strong. We had a few years where it was a little bit difficult, and we needed some new people involved. And we took it away basically from being a one-person trying to run the event to adding a committee of guys
Sure.
To work on the event. And we've been doing that now for, I'd say, the last 10 or so years. And the participation range has never gotten up to what it used to be in its heydays of the 50s.
Right.
But it's, we're averaging about 60 or so participants.
Let me ask you something, Scotty.
Sure.
To qualify and to play in the Geneva City Golf Championship, if you're a member of those courses, even though you're not a Geneva resident, you can play, correct?
Yes. You need to be a golfing member at either Big Oak, Seneca Lake, or Geneva Country Club.
And as far as the course goes, you talked about the format. You obviously are changing the format. I read where you're making a couple of tweaks in the format this year. The two-time defending champion, young phenom Matt Dijon, comes back to try to win his third in a row. Give our listeners and our viewers an overview of what the format changes are going to be basically this year compared to other years.
Well, we for years kind of played it as not a true double elimination tournament, but because of the quality of players, we always tried to give somebody a chance in what we call the beat Nate's flight.
Sure.
So that if you lost your first match, then you would be given the opportunity to play another match in like the consolation bracket
sure.
of any flight that you were in.
Right.
And what's happened is the quality of the players in the first and championship flights, the championship flight, first flight, has gotten to the point where anybody on any given day, either one of those flights, could beat anyone else.
Sure.
So we bumped it up to having 32 people qualify rather than 16.
Okay.
Now, the defending champion doesn't have to qualify, so Matt Dijon wouldn't have to qualify this year. Or any other champion have to qualify at all. They automatically get the number one seed.
Okay.
In the championship flight. But this year we modified it based upon a lot of the young guys. They're looking at a guy like me who's busy running the tournament, runs out onto the course and makes a 10 in the first hole, and then misses the cut.
Right.
The championship flight by a little bit, and they're like, well, geez, that's hardly fair.
Right.
And to me, it is what it is. It's golf. You better play well to get in.
That's right.
But at the request of the younger guys, we opened it up, changed the format so that now 32 people will qualify for what we're calling the championship bracket.
Okay.
Then you're going to get a chance to play a match play match. The winners of the match play, which is Sunday the 22nd of July,
right,
will automatically form a 16-player bracket called the championship flight.
Okay.
And then the remaining players will fall into the first flight. Anybody that lost first flight and second flight, flights of 8.
That's good.
And the reason for it being is we wanted to make those flights of 8 because there's a time constraint in getting all your matches done.
And
the other main reason we're doing it that way is because we weren't getting the participation in the beat Nate's People would dropping out. They didn't want to play their match because they had lost, whatever the case is. So this format still allows the players to get a minimum of 3 rounds of golf and to get to play each course.
Great. Scott Bissell is our guest this morning. Scott, a longtime buddy of mine, one of the members of the committee that run the Geneva City Golf Championship. And, I watched Matt DeJohn. I've watched him play before. He's obviously a superb golfer. Have you checked on his game? Is his game up to par where it's been the last couple of years, or is he coming in not playing a lot of golf? What's the book on Matt?
When I shot my 71, I think Matt had a 68.
Well, his game is okay then.
I'm pretty sure his game's in pretty good shape.
Well, it sounds like it.
He was the only guy out that beat me that day.
That's great.
So he's obviously playing very well, and one of the I consider it fantastic as far as the competition goes is Steve Aquilano is now back in the area. Good. And he's going to be coming back to the tournament this year. And he left as being a 3-time winner.
That's great.
And then Matt and Bill McDermott have gotten involved and have won since then. But now that Steve's back, the competition obviously is going to be great.
Well, Bill McDermott's name, every time I see the scores in the paper, they list what you guys do up at Geneva with other courses as well, Scott, as you know. Bill McDermott's name seems to be, I guess, etched in cement. It seems like it's in the paper every other night. So it's obviously he's got some game as well. So that's impressive too.
Oh, he certainly does. There's no underestimating Billy. There's also Matt Marabito has been playing some great golf, and there's just such a crop of young guys out there that anybody could beat anybody on a given day. And I think the change in the format's going to allow. Keep some people in there a little bit longer, maybe.
So the action gets underway in about a week or so?
Yeah. The first qualifying round is going to be at Geneva Country Club. It's been there the last couple of years. It's a very hard tournament to schedule because you're trying to involve Saturdays and Sundays during the middle of the summer.
Right, with 3 courses, yeah.
All the courses have tournaments scheduled.
Sure.
So this year we are going to be back at Geneva to qualify, and then we're going to go to Big Oak for the first round of match play, which will be Sunday the 22nd. So the qualifiers the 21st at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at Geneva.
Okay.
Then everybody will play their first match the following day.
Okay.
Then they'll be given a week to play the next match, and so on. They'll have another week before we get to the finals weekend.
Good.
It'll be the first weekend in August.
Well, that's great. Well, we look forward to getting some updates from you, and look forward to talking to you maybe down the road about how things turned out for 2012. And again, it's a tournament with a lot of tradition, a lot of history to it, and I thought it would be nice to get you on to talk about it, and we wish you nothing but the best, and may the best golfer come out on top. And if that's Matt DeJohn for 3 in a row, good for him. And if somebody sneaks up and nips them, so be it.
Well, that's great. We appreciate your support. Jim's always been a supporter of golf, and he's always, been abreast of what goes on with the tournament.
Good.
We thank you guys, and I appreciate you getting me on there to kind of promote it a little bit.
All right.
I would like to say one thing.
Sure.
More is the deadline for applications is a week from today.
Okay.
And right now the turnout hasn't been that good, so hopefully some guys will hear this and remember to get their applications in.
Well, if you want to pass the word on, this show obviously will be put up on fingerlakes1.com, and they can check it out and hear your words, and they'll hear your reminders as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Earl.
All right, Scott. Thank you very much. Scott Bissell joining us here on fingerlakes1.com as we danced around a couple of important golf tournaments, first the Women's Am and a Mid-Am, and then we felt we need to talk to our buddy Scott about the tournament. It's got a lot of tradition, Paul. Geneva City Golf Championship, like I say, I think it's got 46 years of history, and it's a tournament that kind of died on the vine because of lack of involvement. I guess, from what I understand from Alan Brigno, who's a good buddy of mine who works for the Finger Lakes Times, supposedly the committee members who were running it may have dried up. Maybe a couple of them had been deceased, and somebody else didn't step forward, so it kind of lay dormant for several years, as Scott pointed out. So it's kind of nice to see that thing going because, with local golf, as Jim Senacropi, who plays a lot of golf and plays in a bunch of tournaments as well, the thing is, you got to have people involved in putting these things together, Paul. As you very well know, you've been actively involved in helping people run organizations as well. And if you don't have people stepping up every year, it sometimes can die out. And that's I'm glad to see the Geneva City Championship back on its feet.
Yeah, it's tireless amount of work for the people who are involved in these, and I could see how he say, I didn't realize it, how long it had dropped off for when he had mentioned it, because I had a little personal involvement with that. My first boss that I worked for was a guy named Wani Carroll.
Oh, sure.
And when I went to high school, I happened to be in school with his son, Johnny Carroll.
Oh, Johnny.
Who, I don't know.
I know
then
Johnny.
Along come his younger brother, I guess, or maybe John's son, Chris Carroll.
Right.
So I think if you look, if they
Carroll
show
name.
the past champions there, I think you'll see that name maybe 8 or 10 or 12 times.
A lot of
when
times.
that tournament was going. And then when he said it disappeared and then it came back, you got to give them credit because it is a big historical tournament in Geneva, and it sounds like it's a lot of work, and they're trying to do little things about adding that little thing. If you lose your first round game, you can play back and stuff. They're doing things to keep it golfer friendly. I mean, I just hope it gets back. He has a big turnout. He said right now they're a little slow.
Yeah.
And like he says, you got a shot. And any given day, you can go up there, and these guys
never know. There's a lot of good players. Yeah. Well, we thank Scott Bissell. We thank Bill Moore for joining us, giving us a rundown on a couple of important golf events. And again, a lot more to talk about at the end of the show about our involvement with the Women's Am and Mid-Am here on FingerLakes1.com. We have an extensive coverage planned for you tomorrow. But let's talk about some other topics. Our other sponsors, by the way, Bob and Leslie Ullman of the Ullman fame, the owners of the Newark Pilots, where we'll be later tonight covering the Amsterdam Mohawks, the number one team. You know, you talk about the Yankees having the best record in baseball. Well, we get a chance to broadcast. Myself and David Barnick will get a chance to reunite tonight after about 13 to 15 years of not working together, obviously because the station got sold and we all kind of dropped away from the media side of it. And now it's great to have David back working with us on FingerLakes1.com. So I'll get a chance to reunite with David for that broadcast tonight. Number one, Amsterdam Mohawks come into Newark. Should be another picture-perfect night. And why do I know that? Because forget about moon over Miami. We have sun over Coburn. We always pick on Bob and Leslie about the sun in left field, giving us broadcasters heart attacks trying to see the baseball come off the bat. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. We'll figure it out, baby. We'll wear our sunglasses, and we'll have fun doing it. And we look forward to a great game tonight. And by the way, I'm sure if Bob and Leslie are checking us out, I think they might be in North Carolina today. We certainly say hello to them, our fine sponsors, but also using a Chris Berman term, the Newark Pilot baseball team of the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League has kind of been fumbling, bumbling, stumbling, to use a Chris Berman analogy. Why is that? They had a chance to win Monday night. We were in town over in Newark to broadcast the Watertown game. They led back and forth, and then they end up losing the game 15-13 in 10 innings. They lost last night, so their record is 15 up, 15 down. Is it time to panic? No. There's 48 games in the regular season. They're 15-15, which means there are 30 games played with 18 to go. But, folks, this is, in my opinion, a crucial time of the Newark Pilots because the next 4 out of 4 nights, they're going to be home. They're home tonight. They're home Thursday night. They're home Friday. They're off Saturday. They're home Sunday. So, home cooking, baby. Make the bacon when you can. So we wish the Newark Pilots the best. We'll be there covering that game tonight, and I'm looking forward to seeing this powerhouse Amsterdam as they will provide the opposition. But no need to panic, you Pilot fans, but we need to get some W's, especially now that we're home. Excuse me as I start coughing here on
hopefully
Wednesday
they
morning.
can step up and the players will step up and match the intensity of the owners.
Oh, they got
Bob
nice
and
crowds.
Leslie. They're very they love what they do.
They do,
and it's a great setting over there for baseball, and they level. I think that they'll get into the playoffs, and I think they'll go on a little streak. Maybe they can win 12 out of these last games, and that should put them in a good spot.
They got they take the top 4 teams, so it's nip and tuck, but. I'm sure my buddy Chris Ebright, the head coach, the manager, the head coach of that team, will get his team pumped up. As you're not going to get pumped up to play baseball, then you shouldn't play. And if you're not going to get pumped up when Amsterdam comes into town with a 23-6 record, then you should be playing ping pong. So I expect Newark will be on fire tonight, and I expect a big crowd over there at Coburn Park. Again, we'll be on the air around 7 o'clock, and I'm looking forward to working with Dave Barnick, Jimmy Senacropia, obviously our director-producer will be on hand, Chris Marquardt, and, of course, Mr. Cameraman himself, Jeremy Hunt, will be doing his normal fine duties. Speaking of the Ullman Theater, of course, wants to remind everybody they got the amazing Spider-Man playing at the Ullman Theater over in Lyons, New York, and, of course, that is continuing with showtimes at 7:30 tonight and the next couple of nights. Then the weekend they have show times at 2 o'clock, 4:30, and 7:30. And keep in mind the Dark Knight Rises will be playing at the Oman Theater in Lyons. That starts up on July the 20th and will run for about 7 days. Annie Get Your Gun will be performing at the Oman Theater. That's on Thursday, August 2nd, Friday, August 3rd, Saturday, August the 4th, with 2 shows on that Saturday, 3 and 7:30. Price is very, very reasonable, $10 adults, $8 for students and seniors. The legendary Annie Get Your Gun performing at the Oman Theater in Lyons in early August. And a reminder, in August the 12th, they have a performance by Ron and Nancy One Song opening for Roy Rogers Jr. That'll be at the Oman Theater on Sunday, August the 12th for a 2 o'clock show. Check it out. And our final sponsor here on the Dog and Pauly, we always want to give credit to our great sponsors. Jimmy Senecropi can talk miles and for days about the Seneca Falls Country Club. Jimmy, of course, one of the board of directors. Jimmy, what do you got going for us? A lot of specials. I understand the $100 price tag is underway with the foursomes for the month of July. A lot of activity going on there with the Women's Am, which, of course, and the Mid-Am, Jimmy, as you know better than anybody, since we're going to be there tomorrow broadcasting for 6 hours. You as the director and the rest of the board, along with President Carol Ganson, have got to be thrilled the way the club with all the activity that's taking place.
Yep. And, you know, if you want to play a course in championship shape, come down to the country club Friday, Saturday,
Bingo.
Sunday, because the course will still be in the type of shape they had it for the women's tournament. Greens are fast and smooth. Oh, they've been that way all year, but they're a little faster for the women for a major championship like this. They roll them, they double cut them. So if you're playing golf this weekend, come down to Seneca Falls, bring a foursome for $100. That includes a cart.
Very reasonable.
And and play some golf. And of course, we're really excited about doing the Women's Am. Excited.
I don't know about
excited and nervous.
Nervous, I know.
Golf's a little different than basketball or even baseball. I guess we're getting bigger arenas. We started with basketball. That's pretty 90 feet to cover. And then we went to baseball. That's like 400 feet to center. You got a bigger field there. And now we're going to try golf, which is acres.
I know.
So...
But we're looking forward to it. Again, we got a lot going on. We'll recap at the end of the show. A lot going on at Seneca Falls Country Club. Check out my buddy. He busted my chops this morning, Bob Fuller. And I'm going to tell you right on the air, all right, so everybody can hear it from me. I was down there checking on the ladies this morning, the amateurs teeing off before I came here to join up with Paul and do this show. I'm going to tell you, I admit I screwed up. I was behind the first tee. I was in the middle of the general manager. Paul, you're going to love this. Bob Fuller to my left. He says hello, by the way, Paul. And to my right, the assistant pro, Kevin Muirhead. And they like to bust chops. They bust my chops, and I give it back to them pretty good. As the lady goes to the first tee, she got her name announced. What happens? My cell phone, I get a text message, and, of course, it makes a sound with a text message coming in. And I thought Fuller and Muirhead were going to put me in a canoe and throw me into Cuba Lake. I admit it. I screwed up. I should have had my phone on vibrate. I should have silenced it. But the good news is I got chastised by Fuller and by Muirhead, deservedly so. But 3 minutes later, Paul, one of their committee members that were helping out the tournament, his phone went off as well. So at least I can take a little credit. I wasn't the only idiot that had it happen. So I admitted it.
Welcome into the world of high tech.
And no, Fuller, he wanted to come on this morning. If he wasn't running the tournament, he would have been a last-second guest because he wanted to bust my chops about my phone going off. So thank God I didn't interrupt the lady's swing. And by the way, the girl that was on the tee, when my text message came in and went ding, ding, she hit it about 250 down the middle. Thank God. If she'd hit that ball 12 feet, I think I would have been in Fayette right now, hiding under a rock. Okay, we got that out of the way. Pauly, what else you got going on? I know there's a lot to talk about this morning. You talked about some racing. We got the All-Star break, of course, last night. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it. The American League gets embarrassed. Verlander gets rocked, one of the best pitchers in baseball. 5-0, top of the first. Good morning, good afternoon, good night.
Yeah, it's the proverbial All-Star.
8-0, goodbye.
Proverbial All-Star game.
8-0.
Who cares?
I know.
It doesn't matter. You're all laughing, joking, something like that. You got Cano getting booed in the home run derby because he didn't pick a Kansas City. It's baseball's got a long way to go, so you really can't get too fired up. But the key to the whole thing is that we got a lot of baseball ahead of us and not a lot of other things. But
I know.
I was reading an article that says last week before the All-Star game, the Tampa Bay Rays, who are kind of a young franchise,
right?
They've been in business since 1998. They went back to their retro uniforms. If you started in 1998, what's a retro uniform? I mean, don't you still have the same uniforms? Okay, my main gripe today is I want to complain about one thing.
Okay.
With the state of the New Orleans Saints,
right,
with what they're coming through, with players and coaches,
right,
with the state of what they survived and went out and won a Super Bowl,
right,
with the man who walks on water,
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees, 1 year, 10-year contract. He's looking for $20.5 million. They said they're locked in at $19.25. $1.25 million for a guy. He's the only chance they got this year to save that franchise. He's got to go out and throw for 6,000 yards, not 5. He can carry that team. He's proved it before. And you know what? 6 foot. They list him at 6'1". I've seen him.
Hell of a player.
6 foot, 195 pounds. He can throw the ball. They are balking at him.
A lousy $1 million.
And the fines on those other, and whatever it all happens, it's going to be much more than that. So the GOATs continue to be the management of the New Orleans Saints, I would say. 'Cause Drew Brees is the only chance that they've got. That's really discouraging.
Can you imagine not signing Drew Brees? Can you imagine? They're going to sign him. It's amazing. But the loss to football and the Saints by not signing Drew Brees would be astronomical. It'd be about as much astronomical and devastating as Jim Sennacobe lost the dog and Pauly if we went to another network. I mean, Jimmy would probably turn off the lights and maybe Jimmy would maybe go into, I don't know, selling Coca-Cola on the site. Just kidding. Hey, by the way, maybe the management, you could use the term that Barnick, I think somebody gave me this term, they're 5 squares short of a bingo. Okay, I had to get that out. I mean, it just amazes me with the foolishness of the Saint management. You give the guy whatever he wants. Yeah, you let him write his own check.
It's a 1-year offer.
Big deal.
It's $1.25 million for 1 year. It's not a 10-year contract.
We're throwing money around like drunken sailors, and the Saints, they're not packing that stadium at home because of the other players. They're packing them because of the quarterback. Unfortunately, whether you like it or not, the quarterback is the franchise, unfortunately, the way you look at things. If you don't have a great quarterback, you're not going to go very far in this world in the NFL. And speaking of the NFL, I found it interesting, and you and Jim can check me out on this, but the Las Vegas lines and the gamblers in Las Vegas where they build those billion-dollar casinos, I found it interesting. I don't recall this happening. Maybe it did. The lines for opening week are out. The football lines, the gambling lines, they're out. They came out last night in the Finger Lakes Times. So what it's saying is you can actually bet in July for September opening weekend. The Las Vegas lines are out. I can't recall that happening. Maybe I never paid attention to it, but I was thumbing through the paper last night, and there it is. There it all, September 5th, September 9th, September 10th. Got all the games, Jimmy, and they got all the lines published. Obviously, those lines have changed based on the money, but it's amazing. They start early out there because obviously they want the gamblers to bet.
You take a chance. You don't know who's going to get hurt. Every preseason, three people a team get hurt. So
amazing. So I found that kind of interesting. But back in the All-Star game, I didn't watch a second of it. I didn't watch any of the home run derby. Even though I love Chris Berman, back. You hear that about 8 million times during the telecast. But I'm like you, Paul. I can't get excited. They're all smiling. They're patting each other on the back. Hey, guy, how's the wife? Good. How are the kids? Oh, it's my turn to hit. Verlander gets rocked. They lose. They're 5-0 down, top of the first. Goodbye. They lose 8-0. Well, we always used to say, big deal. But, Paul and Jimmy, one thing you got to give credit to that worthless Bud Selig, who's 99, going on 112, who should have gone to farming years ago, in my judgment. He did make one monumental good decision, about the only one I can think he's ever made. He put a price tag on the winner. If you win, you get home field for the World Series. So the National League has home field for the World Series. That could play a role. Yeah. At least they're playing for something. So the winner gets home field for the World Series. So in 2012, in October, when the series starts, the National League will have the home field advantage. So I guess there's something they're playing for, but it's hard. It's hard to get
Paul
excited.
Said, both you guys, those guys are smiling. They don't really care. So why put something on the line?
Yep.
I mean,
yeah, I know.
I originally thought that was a decent idea, but
yep.
You know, that you got a team, let's say the Yankees, for example. Right. Let's say they finish with the best record in baseball and, you know, maybe 6 games better than the National League winner.
Right.
But the National League gets home field simply because they won an arbitrary game that nobody really cared too much about
Bingo.
in the middle of July.
That's right.
So I don't know about that. I think, you know, it's an all-star game.
Yep.
No matter what you put on it, it's not going to mean as much as a regular season game. So why not just let it be what it is?
I must say, switching subjects, Pauly, and I need to comment, I got to give credit to Roger Goodell. He is working with the union to get rid of that stupid Pro Bowl in the NFL.
There's nothing worse than that.
Is the worst game. They play it between the the week before the Super Bowl in Hawaii.
They tried that. Originally they played it after the Super Bowl, and they tried to put it in the week between. But football's a game, like you said, you can't play football for fun.
No.
It's too violent and physical.
Yep.
You need to give it your all out there.
I hear there might be pulling it. Thank God. Pauly, what do you think of that one?
Well, I mean, generally you don't risk injury in that game because they don't do any hitting. I think what it was, Brandon Marshall, what did he do, catch 30 balls for 6 touchdowns or something in the game. It's a laugher. It's like going out to the picnic with your family and playing two-hand touch or something and just run up and down the field. It's kind of a macro. I don't like that. But just before we get to that, you gave Bud Selig credit for something.
One thing.
And the senior circuit was always called the National League. The junior circuit was always called the American League. He's done some things. He's put this all-star game that he gives it, like Jim said, the higher-seeded team should get the home field advantage and everything like that. But come on, it's all merged into one league. So you play 7-game series.
Right.
4 games, you're batting your pitcher. 3 games, you're batting your designated hitter.
Right.
It's baseball. It's all one league. It's all one thing now. It's called Major League Baseball. They got to get that lined up. I don't know who's got to make the concession.
National League's not going to change, Pauly. National League will not change.
But they're the senior circuit, so maybe they have the seniority. But it's the other way that it goes. But
if they get rid of the DH, then you're going to and this is the issue, I think. I don't mind. I would like to see it one way or the other on both leagues, but if you get rid of the DH, you're going to end the career of probably a dozen players at least,
players.
Yeah, in the American League.
Or if you bring the DH in, you're going to extend the career.
There you go, on the other side,
league.
right?
So, I mean, that's the same argument. Look at this David Ortiz.
Yep.
I mean, he's tearing the ball up this year, and he's the only guy, I didn't realize that he's the last player left from the recent World Series championship team on that team because they got rid of the Euclid there. The other team like that, and which leads me to think of, I wonder what all those other guys that aren't playing anymore are doing, and somebody brought it to my attention. They're probably running fried chicken stores and wine and beer vendors now that they were good at that when they were on that team.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine about those Red Sox teams because I'm a Yankee fan, and I remember in the '86 when the Mets beat them, and I would love to see Boston lose.
Yeah, I do too.
And then they finally win these World Series. It seems like the world's coming to an end. But you want to talk about a team that benefited from the steroid era. The middle of their lineup was Manny Ramirez and David Ortiz. I wonder if, we didn't have that steroid era, if Red Sox would have ever won a single World Series.
Good point.
So
I've never right, as Paul knows. We used to track when I was at WSOW for 25 years on all my predictions and the statistics, and I think Jimmy was cutting grains back then. He used to listen to my show in the morning.
Yeah.
I was 84% of the time wrong. 84%. Greg Cotterill used to bust my...
That's prolific.
That's what it was. Greg Cotterill, Bob Appel, Bob is no longer with us. He's in heaven, I hope. But Greg Cotterill, who works for Finger Lakes Daily News Radio up in the Geneva operation for Alan Bishop and Company, they used to track every prediction I'd make for years and years and years. And they used to laugh at the statistics. They'd say, dog, 84% of the time you're wrong. And you predict every day on some stupid game and you're never right. You're wrong 84% of the time. So out of every 10, I'm right maybe 2 out of 10. But I continue to predict. I want to make another bonehead prediction here today. Guys, I'm 67 years young. I don't know if the Lord's gotten plans for the dog. Could be today. Could be 20 years from now. I will tell you, my mother's 91. My dad's 92. Of course, I got the dementia, Alzheimer's. So, if I'm going to go that route, take me now. But all seriousness, I must tell you, I don't see the National League ever giving in to bringing a DH into that league. It will never happen. I don't see it happening. And Paul, because they're stubborn, They're hard-headed. They don't think baseball should have a DH. And likewise, I don't see the American League ever giving up the DH. So I think you're going to have the days of Nikita Khrushchev and the United States of America presidency. They're going to be at a standstill, Paul. I'm convinced of it. I'll probably be wrong. They'll announce it next week. The National League is giving it up, but I don't see it. I think the National League believes firmly, and you can't argue their facts, that baseball was intended to have the pitcher hit. I mean, that's the way, Paul, and you're about 7 years older than I am. That's the way. When we used to play sandlot baseball at Katy Stanton when I was 9, 10, 11 years old, and we were playing, the batter or the pitcher got up and hit. I mean, that's what baseball was.
Sure.
I'm not arguing that DH coming in the American League, as Jim talking it out, it has excitement. It does add an element. It gives other people an opportunity to play this game, whereas they wouldn't be playing. I can see both sides of it, but I must side. If I had to be given a choice of siding with baseball, I would agree, and I'm not a National League fan, I would go with the National League because in my mind, as Jim and Paul are managing those dugouts, it's a lot different when you have the number 9 guy as the pitcher, Jim, in your strategy. Mm-hmm. That's always a sure out. It is not always a sure out. But 90% of the time, it usually is.
The thing is up in all levels of baseball leading up to professional, your best hitters are often your pitchers because they're a lot of times the best athletes.
Yep.
So in high school and even college. Right. But then by the time you get into the pro leagues and you know, AAA, AA, single A, major leagues, they try to specialize you.
Yep.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, and there are some good pitchers in baseball.
Oh, Sabathia.
You know, John Smoltz used to be a great hitter.
Sabathia's a great hitter.
Yeah. So, you know, I think if you did get rid of the DH, you'd probably see some better hitting pitchers. Yeah. But, again, like I say, growing up, those are the best athletes on the team, usually the pitchers, and so they're also the good hitters. But then it just becomes so specialized at the professional level, I think, Paul.
Yeah, I think that I always accuse baseball of being the closest thing to the traditional game that it always was, America's pastime. So on that hand, I would say to carry on with the tradition, you would have the pitcher bat. And then things would happen like in the 5th inning. If it was 3-3, you'd say, do I pinch hit for him now? Or do I let him go 2 more? There's more strategy, as Harold was saying.
I agree.
Like that. But to go back to the first topic that Harold was talking about was his predictions. Harold Weber swung more betting lines in Seneca County. When he'd make a prediction, guys would run out, go the other way, and say, this is like stealing money. Just go the opposite of what he does, and it seems to work. And they're a little sad now that you're not as bold as you used to be, and you don't predict more because they would like to have a little help.
84% of the time, you'd be a winner. Are you kidding me? You can't beat those odds.
The gamblers got to love him, man.
A quick story. I worked for Grant Griffin at Gould's Pumps when I started off in 1964. I went to the old main office, late 60s. I got a job in order entry, and Grant Griffin was sales manager. Might have been the early 70s when this happened. And Grant would drive in from Geneva, and I worked for Grant. And I would get on and do Weber on Sports, and after the show, I'd come up to Gould's to go to my job. And Grant, when he was in town, he was sales manager, so he traveled a lot. But when he was in town, he would never miss the show because he knew I'd make some dumb prediction. And I was grossing, I'm going to say, probably in the early 70s, $65 to $70 a week. And no, people can never remember that, including Jimmy's father. No, that was not a lot of money, folks. I mean, let's get this clear. Grossing $70 a week, I was making about $2 an hour. I think $1.80 an hour. Seriously. I worked my way up to be senior customer service manager when I retired 5 years ago. But trust me, that was not a lot of money. And Samantha was small, and we lived in Geneva. My point is, when I got to my cubicle to work, the phone would ring, and I'd hear this voice, Weber, come down to my office right now. It was Grant, my boss, and he would call me down to his office, and he would shut the door and say, you picked Boston to win this weekend. You're going to put your money where your mouth is, aren't you? And Grant, of course, made a lot of money. He was sales manager. And I'm thinking, geez, I take home, $54 a week or $46 a week? You got to bet at least $3 on the bet. I go, all right, I'll make the bet. I would never win. So my income and I would say to some people, when's Grant traveling? When's he out of town? So he doesn't have to hear my show. But true story, every time I'd make a prediction, you want me to back it up, and I would lose a lot to Grant. But those were the memories. Pauly, what else you got for us before we put a capsule on this baby?
Before you leave baseball, it's kind of a sad story. I'm sure the people will read it or get it on the internet about it, but it seems like Jim Palmer, the great Oriole pitcher, has fallen on hard times. And
he is
selling his Cy Young Awards and his Golden Gloves because there's a shortage of cash.
Really?
It's pretty sad. In this, he kind of joked when he made the thing. He said, my wife said it doesn't go with the interior of the house and something like that. But, it's not a horseshoe award. It's the Cy Young Award, and it's what got him into this house. And I don't know how that could happen. I could,
especially with all that underwear money that he must have had for those commercials.
Yeah, Jim's right. He had another career after baseball.
Plus, he's a broadcaster for the Orioles now.
Yeah,
is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all it said is that
too bad.
He's fallen on maybe some bad investments or something.
I believe he still is a broadcaster because they panned the Baltimore Orioles when they were in Yankee Stadium recently, and they had him in the booth with a headset on. I'm almost sure he still does work for the Orioles as a broadcaster, and I'm sure he gets paid pretty handsomely for doing that.
It also, he seemed like he's a pretty decent guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I've listened to him and I followed him. He's not offensive, and so that's the bad news for the day.
Well, Pauly, it's good to have you back, and we want to remind our listeners and viewers that we're always coming up with ideas for guests. We had, of course, Scott Bissell on, my buddy from Geneva, talking about the Geneva City Golf Championship. Thank you for Scott. Bill Moore, representing the New York State Golf Association, in town for the Women's Am and Mid-Am, which is being underway, are contested as we speak at the Seneca Falls Country Club. Play is underway, round 2. Again, folks, you got something going on, go down and check it out. If you've got nothing going on today, check it out. Get yourself a beverage, stop and have lunch, walk around and watch these young ladies. A couple of 14-year-olds in the field, a beautiful swing, just gorgeous play that I saw going off the first tee for my 40 minutes there today. And again, we got a lot going on, so let me recap what's going to take place in the next couple of days here on FingerLakes1.com Sports. A lot is happening. Jim's trying to figure out how he's going to pull this all together. But after we leave the airwaves this morning, we'll all meet up again tonight in Newark. Again, I work with Dave Barnick. First time in 13 or 14 years that we've worked a game together. That's a special event for me, and I'm sure David will feel the same way. We'll get a chance to go back and forth tonight from the broadcast booth as the number one powerhouse Amsterdam club comes driving in with their bus to Newark. Newark needs to get their act together. They've been fumbling, bumbling, stumbling. They're 15-15. They got 4 home games in a row starting tonight. So now it's time to percolate. And Amsterdam is not unbeatable. They got beat last night, I believe, by Albany, which was an upset. So Newark.
Well, that hurts because they're not likely to lose 2 in a row. But
so let's pull for Newark tonight and get out there tonight. It's going to be another picture-perfect evening for baseball action. And after tonight's game, we'll come back to our living areas. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, Jimmy will be down the Seneca Falls Country Club with all the equipment, hooking us all up. And myself will be working with, I'll be the studio host tomorrow for our telecast or webcast from 10 o'clock until around 4 in the afternoon. I'll be working with Arthur Lyons. He'll be doing commentary. I'm going to call him the Nick Faldo of the telecast, of the webcast. We got Jeremy Hunt will be on scene. Bobby LaPrade will be helping out. And I'm sure Jimmy will be corralling other people as well. Harry Hyde will be helping out as well. So we're going to have a nice setup tomorrow. We're going to be doing interviews with the members of the country club staff. We're going to talk to the Bill Moore and his team of the New York State Golf Association. We're going to be talking to players that come off the course. We're going to be asking if they want to come on and talk to us.
Most importantly, we're going to have footage of golf from throughout the course and live footage on the 18th green.
Yep.
And, the idea is we're going to be able to track the competition as play develops and follow the contenders down the stretch.
Yep.
So if you like watching golf,
check
us
out.
Yeah, this is going to be something totally different. If you ever played Seneca Falls Country Club, and if you like watching golf on TV, then this is a no-brainer. Take off of work.
That's right. Have
Take
some fun.
off of work, or maybe you spend most of your day at work not working but watching the webcast.
So we want a nice crowd tomorrow, and we certainly would love you to come down and say hello to us. We'll be set up in the bar room, I understand. That's always a dangerous place for myself and Arthur Lyons to be set up in, but Jimmy's put us in there, and it'll be fun to be a part of that tomorrow. Again, a big 6-hour presentation tomorrow here on FingerLakes1.com as the 2012 Women's Am and Mid-Am will reach its final conclusion as the final round. Again, they make the cut tonight. Top 40 and ties, and anybody within 10 shots of the lead. The rest of them will be going home. The remaining will be teeing off from the first tee, so that should be exciting as well. We hope that you'll join us. And, of course, tomorrow night, Chris Marcourt will set up the equipment over at Amy's Checkered Flag. They got a block party I was incorrect when I said that Mike McLaughlin, and Bobby Ellison were going to be in Waterloo. That's not true. They're going to be via the phones.
Via the telephone.
But they're going to have local drivers there as well.
Yeah, there are going to be a lot of people there. It's in the Dirt Sports Motorsports Hall of Fame we're putting on this event in conjunction with the 31st lap, and so they're going to have a race car there. They're expecting a few hundred people, nice. Mostly from the racing community. Anybody's welcome. Amy's obviously isn't that big, so It's going to spill over into.
Sure.
It's more of a block party, and what a. We just started in Finger Lakes one recently. About a little over a year ago, doing some of these video webcasts.
Now we're full flat.
We did some basketball games last year, but
full speed ahead.
Today and tomorrow, it's just crazy. 7 o'clock, Nords Pilots baseball. 10 a.m. tomorrow, New York State Women's Am, and 7:15, 31st lap live from Amy's Checkered Flag. So it's almost like a 24/7 network here. We got a lot of programming.
If you're looking for Jim Sonnecker, will be on Friday. He'll be on a canoe going down the canal, relaxing with probably a drink in his hand. I won't blame him. Well, Pauly, what else you got to contribute, baby? Anything else?
Not too much, but if after the golf is over and you slide down into NASCAR night in Waterloo tomorrow night,
right.
If you get a chance, you got to go in there and check out the walls at Amy. You got to see the memorabilia up there.
Oh, yeah.
Tickets from races back in the 60s and the 50s and the Allisons, and we got a lot of tradition in dirt car racing in Waterloo. They had a track there for a lot of years when I was running the Franklin Hotel, and the people used to come in every week. It's quite traditionally strong. But I really don't have too much. I just hope the summer keeps rolling along. And I really feel as if the co-pilots are going to start a streak tonight.
All right, go North.
They're going to win 3 out of 4 home. They're going to go on the road and win a few games there, get in the playoffs. So go co-pilots. And, Jim, I suggest that you get a couple of life-size cardboard pitch stands of yourself and place them from place to place so people will think you're there even if you're not there, and maybe you could have one at the NASCAR thing and one at the golf course one,
and then I'll be home in the pool.
Then you could actually be somewhere in person. Yeah.
But knowing Jimmy will call me later and say that some local bocce club wants us to webcast their action Friday morning at 11, so wouldn't put us past the opportunity. Well, folks, thanks for joining us, and again, thanks to Bill Moore, the executive director of the New York State Golf Association. Again, the Junior Am along with the Women's Am along with the Mid Am underway at the Seneca Falls Country Club. It wraps up tomorrow. It's going to be a beautiful day to check out golf today and tomorrow. Join us tomorrow for our coverage starting at 10 a.m. until around 4 o'clock. We'll be there until the closing ceremonies wrap up. Tonight, of course, Newark Pilot Baseball against Amsterdam. Again, Paul, good to have you back. And, folks, we appreciate you joining us. And, again, if you have an event, you want to plug it, you want to talk about it, you want to come into our studio, we'll pick on you and lay it on the couch there. You can sit on the couch, you can lay down, we don't care. Or you can call in and talk to us, as we did today with Scott Bissell talking about the Geneva City Golf Championship. So we ask that you give us a call, let us know you'd like to come on as our guest. We don't turn anyone down. We only ask that you keep the language clean. Take care, everybody. Here on a Wednesday, July 11th, 2012. It doesn't get any nicer than this. Enjoy the beautiful weather. Go on down to the club and check out some great golf at the Seneca Falls Country Club. This is the Dog and
Pauly Show.
Take care, everybody. We'll catch you on Weber on Sports on Monday morning at 9:30 live.
Thank you.